Hello everyone, welcome to our discussion on animal distribution. In animal distribution, we are going to see insular fauna or the animals which inhabits the islands. So, insular fauna or the islands are either the extensions of the oceanic crust. That means they might be formed by volcanic origin as volcanic islands, or they belong to a continental plate containing a large island mass. That means they might have some either in the past they might have had land connections, or in the present also they might be having some land connections with the continents. So, such an island which is having a land connection with a larger landmass is the example is Greenland, which sits on the North American plate. So, the landmass of the connection might not be visible. It might be some the connections with the crust where it is connected with the North American plate. The fauna or the animals in the islands are referred to as the insular fauna, and we are going to discuss the distribution of animals in different types of islands. So, on the basis of their origin, islands are classified into two. They are classified as continental islands and oceanic islands. The first one, continental islands, are part of the main continent in the past. That means they might had now it is an island. So, island means a landmass which is entirely surrounded by water, and here, a continental island is an island which was part of a continent in the past, but it got disconnected from the main continent, or the landmass or the land bridge got disconnected, or the entire a piece of land or the island due to plate tectonic movements or the continental drift, etc. They might have drifted from the main continent, and now it is being isolated, and they might have formed an island. So, such islands which had some land connection or some connection with the main continent is called as the continental island. The second one is the oceanic islands. The oceanic islands never has any connection with any continent, so they might be either formed by the volcanic eruptions or the hardened lava of the oceanic volcanoes, or they might be coral islands. So both the volcanic islands and coral islands come, or they can be taken as examples of the oceanic islands. So such islands, they do not have any connection either in the past or present. They do not have any land connections with the nearby continents. So, coming to the first one, the continental islands. So those these include the islands which have been the part of the main continent in the past. They might have separated either by sinking or by the rise of sea level between them. So there might be many reasons. Either a land bridge might have sinked due to increase in sea level, or the sea level might have risen, making them separate, or because of plate tectonic movements, they might have departed from the main continent. The stretch of sea separating them might be narrow, like this. It might be very narrow, as you see here. So this is something which is called as the Strait of Dover, which is found between the Great Britain, and the entire Europe. This is a very small stretch. You can see. So this is the island here, and this one is the mainland. And here, this is the very narrow stretch of sea between the island and the mainland. And it might be wide as the Formosa Strait between China and Taiwan. So this is the another continental island which is called as Taiwan, and you can see. So this one is much larger than the narrow one, which was shown here. So it can be wide as this, and it can be narrow as this, which is called as the Strait of Dover. So these islands usually are situated close to the continents, and geologically they resemble each other. So that is the main feature of continental islands. Because the continental islands were part of the mainland or the main continent in the past, they have resemblances geologically, that the texture of the soil, the plants, and the animals. Many animals, they might resemble that of the mainland. So the resemblance of animals, the geology, etc., is taken into account to consider whether the particular island is a continental island or not. The examples are the Great Britain, Taiwan, Borneo, and Japan. These are the main examples of the continental islands. So continental islands, the fauna of the continental islands, as I said, they exhibit similarities with the mainland. It is because they might have reached the islands from the mainland because they had a land connection in the past, or they were connected directly to the mainland. As a result, they migrated. They might have uh, these animals also might have existed in this particular piece of land. The degree of diversities in the fauna depend on the length and time they might have separated from the mainland. So if you see some animals which are, if you observe an island and you can see that many animals are resemble with the mainland, and there are many islands which are distinct to that islands, and the increase in the number of distinct animals or increase in the number of diversity when you compare it with the mainland, it says something about the time which where this particular land has been separated. So if you have more number of diversified animals, it indicates that this is an ancient continental islands, and that means that it has separated from the mainland in an earlier past. If the continental islands are older, the diversity between them is greater, and if it is young, the diversity will be less. The diversity less means more number of animals will be similar than that of the mainland. The older continental islands have peculiar forms due to the independent evolution under new conditions which are prevailing in the islands, or some forms might have disappeared from the mainland due to stress of competition or survival pressure. So there are many reasons for why you have peculiar or diversified fauna in continental islands. One is that because of the new adaptations or the new environment, they acquire new adaptations, which is prevailing because of the prevailing conditions in the island, and some forms might have disappeared from the mainland due to stress of competition or survival pressure. So, continental islands, we are going to consider the examples of young continental islands as well as the ancient continental islands, of which the example which we are going to consider in the young continental island category is British Isles, considered to be the young continental islands. It consists of two main islands, the Great Britain and the Ireland. At the end of Mesozoic era, this British Isles became separated from northwestern and formed a part of Europe with no land connection. Because as we see in the map, we saw that there is no land connection. There is a very narrow sea separating them from the mainland of Europe. After its formation, the fauna was exposed to very hard hazards of nature. So the fauna is poorly represented. The fauna include the fishes like perches, pikes, carps, six species of amphibians, three species of snakes, and birds are mainly represented by seabirds. In comparison with Europe, the fauna of Great Britain are sparse. Large mammals and reptiles are completely absent. The only endemic form is Lagopus scoticus. So that is a bird which is shown here. This is the only bird that is seen here. And coming to the another example of continental island is the ancient continental island. So this was a young continental island, and this is an ancient continental island. So we'll see the marked differences between them. The continental islands, the examples are New Zealand and Madagascar. So New Zealand is situated about 1,600 kilometer southeast of Australia. So you can see. So this is the Australian land, and this is the two islands of New Zealand. So it includes two islands which has mountain complexes, volcanoes, sedimentary rocks, and open countryside with vegetation. The fauna is characterized by the presence of relics of old vertebrates, which include flightless birds and 50 percentage of and 50 percentage of which are extinct birds. Animals which are present on the mainland are absent. That means present in the Australian mainland are absent in New Zealand. And the amphibians are represented by this particular one, which is called as Leopelma. And coming to New Zealand, the endemic form the Spinodon, which is a reptile which is present, and unique for the presence of flightless birds like kiwi, and also mm, uh, the presence of the flightless birds kiwi as a marked feature. The flying endemic birds includes the wern and wattle birds. And coming to the ancient, because they are having many ancient and endemic fauna, and that is because of the land connection which might have existed in Australia, or they might, or this particular land piece might be somewhat closer towards Australia in the past during the Mesozoic era. And they might have lost their connection, or they might have moved apart from the mainland, preventing the later vertebrate migration. As a result, many endemic forms will be present in ancient continental islands. The flying birds migrated from Australia might have secondarily lost the power of flight, because when they move on to a new land, and if there is no competition, there is the absence of predators, there is much food, there are no competitors, there are no predators. As a result, after many generations, they might have lost the ability to fly, and that is the reason why they are. That is a stipulated or a hypothetical reason for why uh, New Zealand is having many endemic flightless birds when compared to Australia. So this is about the ancient continental island, which is New Zealand. Coming to the second example, which is Madagascar. As you see in the map, Madagascar lies east towards, or towards the east coast of Africa in the Indian Ocean. Mainly, it is formed of the granite plateau with the scattered volcanic peaks. The fauna is rich and it is very varied. The fishes are absent. Amphibians are mainly represented by tree frogs. Reptiles include turtles, geckos, chameleons, skinks. Skinks is, belongs to the family which is, or it is similar to the family which is called as Mabua, and spiny lizards. Only four mammalian orders are represented, and they are insectivora, primates, then rodentia, and carnivora. So the vertebrates show relationship with both oriental. That means here you have the from here you have the oriental region, India, China, the parts of Asia, etc. The vertebrates that show marked relationship with Oriental and African regions, and suggest that a land connection with these regions might have existed and got separated during the Paleocene or the Eocene period. So that is why they are having animals which are related to Oriental and African regions. So these are the two examples. So in continental islands, we saw the two examples of ancient continental islands like New Zealand and uh, Madagascar. So we designated them as ancient, depending upon the diversity and the presence of ancient fauna. So ancient fauna, ancient in the sense they are not now existing in the mainland, but they are seen in this particular land pieces, such as that evolution these particular animals have been evolved after they got separated from the mainland. These are the pieces of evidences which suggests that the island is whether a young continental island or a new continent or an ancient continental island. If a young continental island will be less diverse compared to it will have many similarities with the mainland, with less diversity when compared to the ancient continental islands. So coming to the second category, which is oceanic islands. So as we discussed earlier, they didn't have any land connection with any of the continent. They might have been either volcanic in origin or constructed by corals, or might be constructed by both. So they are usually far from the nearest land. The examples are Galapagos Islands, the Saint Helena Island, the Bermuda, the Azores, etc. They differ from the nearest mainlands in climate, vegetation, fauna, etc. In continental island, we said that their vegetations, their climate, etc., might be more or less similar. Depending upon the distance from the mainland, they might be more or less similar to that of the mainland. And in the case with oceanic islands, it is said that two closely placed oceanic islands even will not be identical in the case of flora, fauna, and their climate or the prevailing conditions. So there are certain common attributes or common features for the oceanic islands, and they are the flora and fauna will be sparse because they didn't have any connection with the mainland. The flora will be represented by those plants by which might be the seeds, or might been brought by the birds, etc., which might have flourished, and also the ferns, lichens, etc., which also prevail in harsh conditions, which the spores being brought by the wind, etc. And the animals mainly represents those animals which came from the mainland through water currents, or through water logs, etc. Because this particular island, it was formed in a naive condition where there was zero animals, zero plants, and it is from zero they might have evolved. So, in such a condition, evolution means it is by the animals which are migrated, plants which are brought by wind, birds, etc., or the seeds of plants, or ferns, etc., might have been spores, etc., might have been brought by the wind, and the wind, the oceanic currents, etc., might have diversified that particular land. As a result, the flora and fauna are sparse. Sparse in the sense the flora is limited, because the flora is represented by those brought about by different agencies. As a result, because of less vegetation, less food, as a result, only the fauna will be represented. The fauna that is represented also will be sparse. The mammals, the freshwater fishes, and amphibians are either absent or they are scanty. The birds are large and flightless with white and dark shades. Either it might be white if it is the coral island, they has light shades, and if they are in volcanic islands, they usually have a dark shade. The flightless insects are common in such areas, or such volcanic islands. The fauna include the assemblage of organisms from different areas, and that depends. The organism might be from different areas, from different continents, etc. It might not resemble the nearest continent, and that depends on the direction of wind, water currents, etc., because these are the only agencies by which flora and fauna come into existence in such virgin islands, which is called as the oceanic islands. So, coming to oceanic island, the example is the Galapagos Islands. As you can see here, this group of islands, a group of 15 islands, is called as the Galapagos Islands, of which five are large and the 10 are small. They lie in the Pacific Ocean, west of west. So this is South America, and west of South America, you can see the group of islands called as the Galapagos Islands. So, as every volcanic island, the fauna is sparse. Freshwater fishes and amphibians are totally absent, because these have a rare chance to be carried out by water currents and reach this particular islands. Reptiles are represented by giant tortoises, iguanas, geckos, and snakes. Birds are dominated by Darwin finches. In this particular group, you can see Darwin finches, and the Darwin finches, the ancestral stock is from South America. But when you observe these island stock, you can see that they have radiated into different groups according to their feeding habits. You cannot compare the finch which is present in South America with the finch which is present in Galapagos Islands, because of the prevailing conditions in the islands, because of the prevailing food which is present in different islands in this 15 different islands. They have radiated, or they have undergone what is called as adaptive radiation. And now, when you see, you cannot compare one finch with the other, but all the finches which is existing in Galapagos Islands, they have evolved from a common stock which is present in South America. So the finches vary from island to island, as each island is isolated from one another. The mammals includes the rats and also bats. The study of fauna reveals that they came from South America mainly by crossing the sea. So they might have came there by crossing the sea, and because of lack of predator, etc., as we said in the other case, they might have undergone evolution in such a way that the specialized feature might have lost to lead a life which is devoid of predators and competition. Coming to the second example of oceanic islands, that is Saint Helena. So this is a small oceanic islands which is present in the Atlantic Ocean and west to Africa. The fauna is very poor with the complete absence of mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and freshwater fishes. They are mainly inhabited by insects and land mollusks. So this is the piece of land which is shown here, and the native bird which is seen here is the only native bird that is seen here is the plover, and mainly it consists of insects and also land mollusks are represented in this particular region. So with this, we come to the end of our discussion on the insular fauna. So insular fauna is nothing but the animals which is inhabiting the islands is considered to be what is called as insular fauna. And in our discussion, we have classified insular fauna. To study insular fauna, we have classified the islands according to their origin as continental as well as oceanic. In continental, we discussed about the continental islands which are young, in the sense that they might have departed from the continent, or the land merge might have been disappeared from the between them in a recent past. And we discussed about two ancient continental islands where their land bridges or their connection might have been lost in a very earlier past. And we also discussed about the uh, oceanic islands, which are either continental or sorry, which are either volcanic or coral in origin. Also, we discussed about two examples of continental islands, a group of islands, uh, the Galapagos Islands, and the other one which was Saint Helena. So, with this, we come to the end of this particular portion, that is insular fauna. Thanks for hearing.